It's time for Criminal Law 101
with criminal defense attorney Ken Eulo from the law firm of Smith Eulo
on 101.1 WJRR.
We are Orlando's rock station. I'm Pat Lynch, Taco Bob. Across from me, criminal defense attorney Ken Eulo from Smith Eulo. Here as he always is on Mondays. How you doing, man?
Doing great. How you guys doing today?
Good. Feeling a little chilly as he was describing his cold plunge routine that he's been into as of late. That sounds like a lot of fun, Ken.
It was brutal this last little cold stretch that we had. It was getting down into the, I think, like high 30s, right? That was tough.
I couldn't do it. I was telling him, Pat, that I will get to the point if my, let's say the hot water's not working.
Yeah.
I'll just go out to the kitchen sink. It's one of those elevated faucets, head under it, and a little bit of water in the face, dry my hair just so at least I look.
No, he's on a daily basis jumping in cold water. So, okay, all right.
You're out of your mind.
Whatever works. Hey, some questions have come in at 22526, criminal law in nature, if you would. He's a criminal defense attorney. We have some other stuff we wanted to discuss with you. Where do you want to begin this morning, Taco?
By the way, if you need to get in touch with Ken or his firm, Ken directly would be Ken at smithandeulo.com. That's Smith, ANDEULO.com.
They know what they're doing over there, and they can help you out on anything criminal law in nature, whether it's a criminal traffic violation or first-degree murder. They've seen, done, and defended all and everything in between.
And if it is a ticket situation, you can enter at WJRR.com/contests. And each week or two, they pick somebody and handle their case, get them out of their ticket. This one said at 22526, by the way, our text line, we cannot text you back, but we do get your texts in.
We're having a problem with outgoing messages, so don't think we're ignoring or being rude to you.
Being dicks,
Our
yeah.
apologies.
I keep getting pinged with stuff that somebody else did. They have the exact same name as me. Oof. I do something about it, or should I, if I do anything about it, can I get any money out of it? Okay, so they have the same name. Let's say their name's Ken Eulo, and they're getting pinged because there's another guy named Ken who's a real S-head.
You see this show up from time to time. People get caught in this.
We actually had this. I'm not sure if you guys remember it a couple of weeks back. The guy kept getting arrested before, and he had the wrong name. And he said, he's missing work or whatever because of it, right? I mean, the reality is this. I mean, there's not really going to be a lawsuit unless there's some sort of damages on this. It's a really tough situation. I think that what I would do if I was his exact situation is call the local agencies and kind of maybe go down and talk to the people in charge and say, listen, I keep getting hit with this bogus warrant, or I keep getting hit with this. They think that I'm this particular person. And I would let them know, maybe do something in advance, maybe get some sort of statement from them, just so he can keep it in his car. So whenever he does have interaction with law enforcement, he can get some sort of official,
hey, this is Volusia County Sheriff's Office saying that Ken Eulo's getting popped all the time because this other Ken.
So anybody with a screwy last name, you're like, I hate my last. Be glad you have a screwy, unique last name. You probably won't get into this situation.
Like a Smith or something like that.
Yeah, if you're like Tony Smith. Okay, yeah.
Because you called it, it was about a month ago that we had that question, and it was the guy, as you said, getting pulled over on his way to work. So he was late to work. He's having to spend time up against a police car. Even just that, how embarrassing that is if your friends are driving by or something, and you're like, great.
There's not really going to be any measurable damages for a lawsuit unless they arrest him and he's spending time in jail. And they know, right? If he has a letter from the sheriff's office that says, "Hey, this isn't me," and they're actually putting him in cuffs, taking him to jail, they say, "We don't care what your letter says, or we don't care what proof you have." That's when you start talking about maybe some sort of damages. But just pulling him over and saying, "Hey, is this you?" and they go, "No, I got the wrong person," and them taking off at that point, there's really nothing there.
Forgive me if I've asked you this before. I don't know if I can you check and see on your own if you have a warrant out for you?
Ooh.
Is there a way to do that?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ways. We actually did talk about this once previously. So you can look on the clerk website if you actually go on to
in a specific county.
Yeah, whatever county you're at. Now that's going to show you that's going to show you pretty much every time that there's a violation of probation warrant that's issued, it'll show you some new cases that might be pending against you. But a lot of times these new cases are going to be hidden. So what you want to do is you want to actually go on to the FDLE search and actually search for people that have outstanding warrants. Put your own name in, put your date of birth, the whole thing. That's not always going to give you the answer, though, right?
Right.
You know, what we do is we work with bond agents, and a lot of times what they'll do is they'll contact the sheriff's office, and they'll actually, say, hey, I'm doing a warrant check for this person with this name, and they actually might pull up stuff that is hidden to people who are just publicly searching for their name. So there is a way to go and search for a warrant that's not visible online, but I would say the clerk's office, FDLE, and VineLink are probably the best resources for people looking for warrants.
Okay.
VineLink, right?
That's another one. Yeah, it was created for victims of crimes, and people can track the status of. But I mean, if you go there and you put the information, it'll say, it'll tell you exactly if they're sitting in jail or if they're sitting, if there's a warrant for their arrest. It'll give you the info on that.
Speaking of victims of crimes, the Volusia County Sheriff Mike Chitwood was not real happy with a local judge and openly criticized the judge recently, stemming from an incident back in November of last year when we talked about this on the show, Taco, when it happened.
I remember.
These two parents who went into their child's school and got into it with a school resource officer, and it became physical. And the gentleman involved of the couple ended up attacking the officer, taking their taser, and it ended up he and his wife get arrested. The case came up recently, and I guess the sheriff was very unhappy about the sentence, which he says was just 45 days in jail. He claimed that the judge blamed the deputy for the incident, ruling that her attacker was, quote, triggered by the presence of a taser and let the scumbag off with 45 days in county jail. No felony conviction, no probation. You read that right. I happen to think the judge that just proved she's unfit for office. That's some strong words.
I saw this story and I saw the video of the sheriff talking, and it made me curious. So I kind of went and I did some digging to see if I could find some sort of video of the judge talking, transcripts, anything
regarding this specific case.
Yeah, because I mean I'm curious how this all shook out, right? Because I mean, just because a person is sentenced to a certain thing, it doesn't mean unless it might have happened in this case, right? It might have, but yeah. I'm curious to know if this was a plea deal, if this was, because obviously when you have a plea deal, the judge isn't the one doing the sentencing. It's a negotiation between the state and the defense, right? And I find the fact that you're looking at a first time offense, even though it seems like a pretty serious offense, I'm usually getting offers in these cases of probation, right?
Yeah.
So it looks like they intentionally wanted some sort of short jail sentence just to be done with it. I'd be curious to see how this all shook out. Like if there was some negotiation that took place. Again, I'd love to see what the judge word for word actually said in this case.
How about on the sheriff's part, openly criticizing a judge in the media? Is that generally a good idea or no?
I feel like the sheriff's office carries a lot of weight, to be honest with you. I've seen public battles between sheriff's office and judges before. I've seen it in Orlando. I've seen it in Polk County. You got I forget, is it Grady Judd?
Grady Judd.
Yeah, you'll say a thing or two.
Him and Chitwood, who we're talking about, they'll both openly say what they feel. Chitwood is very emotional, and I love both those guys.
No nonsense law enforcement guys is really,
there's a way to handle your business, right? And I think that obviously they don't seem to care too much, because if people are supporting them, obviously judge is an elected position as well, and,
right.
And if people care more about what they're saying, then what do they have to? It's not really going to affect them in any.
Here's one more listener question. Are we moving on to that? Okay.
Real quick on this.
Yeah.
Is judge shopping a real thing?
So there's elements of judge shopping that can happen, right? Where you will file a motion to recuse, and you create some sort of random issue that you think the judge. And that
if you've got a case as a defense attorney, you've got a tough case, and you've been assigned this judge that's a real hard ass, has a reputation, and you know it.
Sure. So you have to do a motion to recuse, and that's not always the easiest thing to do. Another common tactic in terms of what defense lawyers will do is, let's assume you have multiple cases, and you have a case in one division, case in another division, case in another division, and let's assume there's really tough judges in this courtroom.
Right.
So you want to try to work out a global plea and maybe kind of push it toward one of the other divisions for the global resolution.
Gotcha.
And if you get the judge to sign off, they don't mind that case being resolved in another courtroom. You can bundle all the cases up and resolve it in a different courtroom.
See, I'm just taking them to Christner's. Hey, Judge.
What else we got at 22526?
Have you ever heard of Bob World Order? You're getting in Bobby's pocket. I kid. Somebody said I have power of attorney over my mother, who is still alive. Am I able to get into her bank account? Or it says onto her bank account, actually.
So I'm curious when they say someone told me. I mean, how do you not know if you have power of attorney over somebody?
No, he said I have power of attorney.
Maybe I heard that wrong.
And then he said, she's still alive. Am I able to get on her bank account? I'm guessing maybe she's...
So the full scope of the power of attorney is what's going to determine the privileges, right? So there's limited power of attorneys that are just very specific issues, and then there's more, there's full comprehensive power of attorneys that can cover everything, right? So I've seen power of attorneys that are for very specific things. For example, a person's in jail and they want to get a power of attorney over the car that was impounded. So they'll do a power of attorney just for that vehicle, and they'll have a family member go pick up the car from impound while the person's in jail, get it out of impound, but the power of attorney is limited just to that issue. For this person, you'd have to look at the power of attorney and see whether or not it's comprehensive, whether it covers financial transactions, bank statements. There are power of attorneys, and I've done them before, that would allow somebody to get full access to full bank accounts, checks, the whole deal. It just depends on the scope of the power of attorney.
They need to check with a family law lawyer.
I mean, all they have to do is just read their power of attorney and see what the scope
covers.
of it is.
Okay.
I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, it could be specific. It could be widespread and cover everything.
All right, Ken Eulo from Smith Eulo, criminal defense attorneys. If you're ever in a snag, get a hold of them. They can help you out. Again, even right down to you got a traffic situation going on where you're facing some traffic charges. Maybe they can get you out of this. Taco, where do you go for that again?
That would be at our website, wjrr.com/contest. If you've found yourself in a ticket situation, they may pick yours to fight. If you want to directly get in touch with Ken, it's Ken at Smith and Eulo. Smith, ANDEULO.com.
All right, Ken, thank you as always for your time. We appreciate it.
Good seeing you guys. Have a great week.
All right, brother. Take care.
Lynch and Taco.